Welcome to Sega News Bits. On this edition, we are going to be talking about a recent interview with Sega Europe's marketing director, John Rook, which was held by Marketing Week, a website which I've never heard of until this article came out. So I guess props to them for catching my attention. It's interesting to note that John Rook is new to his role. He initially worked for Creative Assembly on Isolation, so I guess they liked him enough to promote him. And so in this interview, he touched on a few things, but we're going to be talking about one thing specifically. And if you want to hear the other thing, you can watch the other video. So John Rook, he was asked about what we can expect from Sonic the Hedgehog's 25th anniversary. And here's the quote from him. And he's British, so I'm going to attempt a British accent. Sega has publicly apologized, this is awful, to the fans as the quality of console games in the Sonic franchise hasn't been acceptable over recent years. It's been tough translating that iconic side-scrolling 2D experience from the 90s into 3D, but Sonic is still huge for us, so the new games will be more inspired by how it played in its heyday. Maybe they say heyday, I don't know.
Maybe.
So,
this is all wrong.
Yeah, so what do you think about it? Same song and dance as every anniversary, or is this something new out of Sega's mouth?
No, this isn't anything new. And also, he didn't really say what the heyday is. I think this is one of the biggest issues with Sonic fans, because everybody thinks they know what game was the best Sonic game. Like, ask that question and look at the list, and it's ridiculous. It's like, oh, I love Lost World, and then you'll get that one guy that's like, oh, the Dark Knight, or whatever that one game was called. And it's like, what the fuck is going on here? No Sonic fans agree. That's what Sonic in his heyday is, that's for sure. I think a lot of us, me and you, would say the retro, classic Genesis titles.
Oh, absolutely. Though it's important to note that he did bring up the iconic side-scrolling 2D experience and how it's been tough translating that. So maybe he feels they finally cracked that in the new game. I mean, when you think back, the team that probably is developing the 25th anniversary game is largely the Sonic Generations team. And the last game they worked on was 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, on Sonic Generations for the 20th anniversary. So, you know, I think they have what they learned from Generations, and they have what they learned from Lost World. And, I mean, who knows? They could nail it, or they, at the very least, they could deliver something that's on par with Generations, which I would not be complaining about.
I wouldn't either. I think that would be the best bet. I mean, that's still going to have 3D elements in it. But, I mean, the issue is when you give a quote like this, your expectations of a certain Sonic fan base is going to be like, it's going to be retro. It has to be retro from the ground up. The physics have to be exactly like the Genesis ones. And then it's like, obviously not gonna happen. Let's be honest. It's already been too many games where they could have went back and used the same physics, and they haven't. So I think people should get that out of their mind. As long as it's a good Sonic game, I think we're all good, right? I think we all want a Sonic Generations perfected, right?
Exactly. And so, I also think it would be important to not pander to the I guess, nostalgia. Like, I'd like to see new designs, new enemies, but same sort of classic gameplay.
Has that been like I mean, I know Generations, they used a lot of enemy designs from the older games. I mean, everything was basically lifted from older games, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you would want this not to be Generation, but to be like the Generation formula, but everything from the ground up brand new?
Yeah, and I even think Lost World kind of stumbled with that. The game very much felt like sort of a mix between classic Sonic and, 3D Mario. It very much felt like Mario Galaxy mixed with what we saw in Generations. I do love the returning classic enemies. I think that's something that Mario has done way too much, but Sonic has not done enough of. But in terms of the enemies and locations, I think they could do better, and I'd like to see new designs for sure.
Are you surprised that a lot of fans kind of took the whole, it's kind of like Mario as a negative, kind of, for Lost World?
I could see that. I remember a lot of people thinking that it was going to be a lot like Extreme. But, Extreme wasn't that great of a game. I'd much rather they aspire to the classic Sonic formula, or at the very least building a solid game that doesn't feel broken, which I will say, I know Lost World gets a lot of heat, but I thought it was a good game. It wasn't great, and I think it was the most well-built Sonic game. I encountered very few glitches.
I was going to say, this is not really about Sonic. I mean, this is we're talking about is not about Sonic Lost World, but it was the last game they've released, Sonic Team.
Exactly.
So, the only thing I had an issue with when I first played it was that, like, right when you get into a Sonic game, I think we all expect to go super freaking fast right away by double tapping or something because of the dash. And that game was not like that at all. It was totally different. And I think having Sonic had a lot of people that, the newer fans, having this expectation that it's going to play exactly like this. And so they were ready to play it, and they're like, what is this? This is totally different. I don't know. I think a lot of people were a little weirded out that they tried something totally different. I think it might have worked better if they just made it one of Sonic's friends, like they used to do. Like Tails had his own game. I don't know. But I just think that having Sonic sets an expectation to be like the Unleashed levels or something, like Sonic Daytime levels.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, this game I would love. Yeah, I think you're right. Ground up, brand new enemies. I think it's worth it from now on. I think they should keep Eggman as the villain and keep him that whole and twist that comedic pinch. I think he's been oversaturated on his comedic abilities in the last couple of years, and I kind of like it.
I will also say that as much as people disliked Sonic 4, I thought Sonic 4 Episode 2 was a decent game, and I also think that what I really liked about it was the original enemy design. So we had new badniks based on animals. So we had I think there was like a polar bear, and there was a warthog, and they were really fun and interesting. So I'd love to see that brought into the newer games, the new 3D games moving forward. Still stick with those robotic animals, but present new stuff like narwhal or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I agree. A lot of people also have been. This is actually kind of funny because I remember a lot of people don't remember when Sonic had a lot of friends in his games.
Yeah.
That everybody that was like what held Sonic gameplay back, was that it had so many other gameplay mechanics, and now people are all like, I wish Sonic Friends would be in here, and it's like it's been full circle now, right? I mean, would you want to see the Friends have a comeback?
I think in a limited role that would be fun. I think it would be especially cool if they were bonuses once you complete the game as Sonic, so you could go back and play stages as Knuckles or Tails. And that's kind of like what they did with, I guess I'd say Generations, because they had those bonus stages where you could interact with the characters. You couldn't really play as them, but they assisted you. I think it would be kind of cool actually to replace the Wisps with Sonic's friends, so you could call in and do like a tag team sort of like attack or special skill for a brief period of time. Like maybe have him like hold on to Knuckles' feet as he glides, or hold on to Tails as he flies upwards. I don't want to get into Sonic Heroes territory, but given how well the Wisps were implemented in Sonic Colors, I think it might be cool to kind of shift that role over to the friends, and then you could have SBO and you could have Mighty and Ray. I wish they'd come back, but yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. I think Sonic Runners also kind of handled it kind of good. It's the same level. They're not redoing levels, and it's the same basic gameplay as Sonic, but there's like the jumps are a little different, and it gives it Knuckles could glide. They have a gliding character mechanic, and it all kind of works out. They tweak it with everybody, and I think that works better than giving them Tails isn't a robot for no reason. And
I think that's something Sonic Team lost sight of, because if you think back to the original games, they had seven stages, 2 or 3 acts each, and that was it. But then you were like, oh, I have Sonic and I have Tails, so I can play as Tails, and he's a little different, and I can play as Sonic and Tails or Knuckles, and you might still be playing the same game again, but with a different character. It really does mix things up. I think they attempted that with Sonic Heroes, but they kind of blew it by forcing you to play through the game, I believe 4 times, which was just ridiculous. But Yeah, I'd love to see the friends return, but in a optional role.
I agree with that. You can't take away from the core gameplay to put in friends. That's my motto on that.
And your motto in life too, right?
Yes, right. Well, you want to close it up?
Yeah, what are you guys' thoughts about this? What do you want to see as the next Sonic game next year? And what do you consider the series' heyday? Is it the Adventure series? Is it the originals? Is it Sonic 06? It better not be. So, yeah, sound off in the comments below. If you'd like more Sega news, check us out at segabits.com. And also, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on all our social networks.